Star Wars Tabletop Gaming is proudly supported by Gatekeeper Games, your key to gaming unplugged, a tabletop games store offering a friendly atmosphere for people to buy and play their games in the north of Fitzroy.
Welcome to episode 11 of Star Wars Tabletop Gaming. In this episode, I'm going to talk about which faction I think is going to be dominating with the Wave 1 drop, whether that be the Rebel or Imperial faction. So I'm talking about when the core set gets released and we get those expansions that we've seen just recently, and who's going to be more powerful with just those options. You might be able to tell from what I'm wearing, my Han Solo outfit that my mum may or may not have helped me make. I think it's going to be the Rebel faction. I think the Rebels are absolutely going to dominate Wave 1 and for the first few months of the Legion set. So I think this for three reasons. The first is their defensive ability. The second is the fact they have a really good cheap option. And thirdly is that they're more maneuverable. So let's talk about their defensive ability. So the good thing about the Rebels' defensive ability is that it doesn't actually rely on dice. Now, I don't know if you've played many tabletop games, whoever's watching this, but when you're relying on dice, things can tend to go wrong. So any ability that relies on just mechanics that are automatic and don't require you to roll anything or any level of chance are super powerful. It's the nimble effect on their Rebel troopers, allowing you to bring back cover tokens again and again, is excellent. It allows you to negate kind of one hit, and you'll find that squads, at least like Stormtrooper squads, aren't going to get more than one or two hits, so being able to negate one each time they're shot at is really good if you kind of get that rolling. And the bigger one for me is the Airspeeder. So we saw the Airspeeder recently, and I pointed out in the review of it that it's actually immune to melee attacks, which means you're only going to be able to take it down with one of these. Now, you may notice that in Wave 1, these aren't that great at taking down vehicles. In fact, these are what you want to take out vehicles, and these are not going to work against Airspeeders. So you're going to have to rely on these, and rocket launchers, and whatever else you can get your hands on. Being immune to lightsabers in Wave 1 drops is epic. It means Luke and Vader are pretty much taken out of the picture, noting that that's a quarter of your opponent's, really, army, no matter what you're playing, because they're the only leaders we have available. So having your most powerful units immune automatically to a quarter of your opponent's army, that's pretty significant. And I think we're going to see Airspeeders absolutely dominating because of it. Flying around, doing whatever the hell they want, using their epic speed to keep out of range of opponents' kind of more powerful anti-vehicle weapons. Hell yeah, I think Airspeeders are going to rock. So that's their defensive ability. Next, I want to talk about their epically cheap option, which is the AT-RT. So the AT-RT is only about 80 points when you kit it up with a weapon, and it has 6 hit points. Now the Airspeeder, in comparison, I think had 7 hit points, and it's 175 points. So, double, more than double once you give it upgrades. So the AT-RT is a super cheap option that can get a lot of hit points flooding the table, which will be really good at kind of holding areas, holding objectives, although it can't claim the objectives, but it can certainly keep your opponent away from them. Especially with the 3 red dice from memory it has for its close combat attack. So that is the AT-RT. I think it's going to be really good and a nice cheap option for the Rebels to make them more efficient than the Imperial side. Next up is the fact that they're more maneuverable. They're faster. Their leader, especially Luke when you compare to Vader, is a really obvious comparison. Luke moving 2, Vader moving 1. Big deal, you say? No, huge deal. Being able to get, once again, a quarter of your army to where you need it quickly with his jump ability as well is going to be really significant. So I think that extra maneuverability you have with Luke is going to make a big difference and make him a lot more effective than Vader in a lot more situations. The other one, of course, is the Airspeeder. I know, sure, the Imperials have their speeder bikes, but if you look at the weapons comparison, it's significant. Is it 3 black dice and 3 red dice? I think for the Airspeeder, I'll chuck it up to confirm. But either way, its weapon is hectic, and that you're going to be able to get that around the flank of your enemy. Now, outflanking always kind of sounds good, and in war games, it never really makes a difference. In this game, I think it's going to be huge. I think outflanking is going to be really significant because it allows you to get around your opponent's cover, which negates up to 2 hits. So being able to come around on a flank and maybe get behind that AT-ST rear vulnerable facing is going to be really good. And I think the speed and the maneuverability we see on those Airspeeders combined with their survivability, is going to make them the most powerful unit. that we see in Wave 1. So there's my thoughts. I think the Rebels are absolutely going to outclass the Imperials with their Wave 1 drops. And that... Sorry, Chewie, help me!
Foolish rebel scum. He will not cause the Imperial any more trouble. It is I, Darth Vader, and I am here to tell you that the Imperial forces will dominate Wave 1 of Legion. With our firepower, our armor, and our tactical flexibility, the rebels will have no chance against our Imperial forces. Step 1, firepower. The stormtrooper units have superior special weapons to the rebels. The HH-12 rocket launcher will make absolute mincemeat of their airspeeders, crushing them from the sky. Combined with that, the might of the AT-ST and all the special weapons that we may or may not know what they are yet, it will absolutely wipe the forces, these rebel scum forces, from the planet, crushing them. Next, the armor of the Imperium will stand up. Imperium? Empire. I meant Empire. Of the Empire will stand up easily against the rebels' puny weapons. The stormtroopers with their red defensive dice, as well as the mighty 11 hit points of the AT-ST, will hold up easily against the pathetic blasters of the rebel forces. I am not concerned. Just make sure that they don't get behind your AT-STs, because then you're screwed. Finally, the tactical flexibility of the Empire forces far outweighs anything the rebel forces can bring to the battlefield. In particular, the speeder bikes provide the opportunity to have multiple fast-moving little units speeding around the battlefield, putting out some significant firepower, but also denying and claiming objectives. They cost 1/3 of what the airspeeder, which is weak and fragile, costs. Which means you can flood the battlefield with them and achieve far more than what the rebels can. I do not think the Empire forces will have any trouble dealing with anything the rebels throw at them. I will see you when Wave 1 drops, and together we will crush any rebel scum that get in our way. Do not let the rebel forces convince you otherwise. The Empire is the mighty power here, and we will have victory.
Does anyone know where there's a dead Han Solo on my floor? Ugh, it's a mess. Okay, but when I saw Darth Vader, he seemed pretty convincing. But I personally think when it comes to the Imperial and Rebel forces of the Wave 1 drops, that it'll actually be pretty balanced. I really like that they're trying to do different things with the Rebel and Imperial forces, with the Rebels obviously being a little more maneuverable, a little more defensive, and the Imperials being focused on firepower, armor, and also the mechanic based around fleeing and pinning units as well with Darth Vader. I think we're going to see some really interesting battles, both Empire and Rebels against each other, and also with the factions versing each other as well. I think the balance is going to be pretty good, and FFG have shown recently with Destiny that they're willing to fact things pretty quickly with their newer games that are unbalanced, unlike X-Wing for some reason, though we saw the fact for that, and that was pretty good. So I don't think we have to stress too much about balance between the forces. I think you'll be able to buy whatever units and whatever armies you think are cool and bring them to the table and achieve things. So, thank you very much for watching, and may the Force be with you.